Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Hi,
And
everyone.
apology for a short delay because I struggle a little bit with connection, but it should be good right now. If you can be so kind and put in the comments that you can hear us and see us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and then we can start. All right?
And we've already got comments. People were
Yeah,
waiting
from
for us
Nicola Polgarabova, you
from
are
YouTube.
late. Finish,
Naughty,
check,
naughty.
finish. We are late, but yeah, like two
Jan, we have to
minutes.
go to the
Come on,
principal's office.
like
We have to go to the
in
principal's office.
in Switzerland, my daughter, she told me that in Switzerland, if the train is late more than 30 seconds, you are getting back, the fare, basically, the money. And the average delay in Japan, average delay last 10 years per year, it's like 11 seconds,
Yeah.
So that's
So
pretty good.
I think that says a lot about how I feel in Switzerland because I'm not always the most on time person.
Okay, all right, good.
But
So I
we're
think I see a lot of people, showed up already. So Lisa, the turn is yours. Let's start, and yeah.
Absolutely. So we're here to talk about a very important topic because everybody, once the new year comes, how many of you go, okay, I'm going to join the fitness center. I'm going to get in shape again. I'm going to stop eating the cookies from Christmas. I'm going to go work out. Okay, I'm going to get a new app to help my sleep. We think so much about the physical. I'm going to look good. I'm going to do something health for my body. But so many of us forget real health begins here. So with our mental health, well, that's a lot harder. That's why people don't ever start because what do I do about mental health? Does it mean I have to go to see a shrink? Do I have to go to therapy? Do I have to keep crying in the corner about my emotions? Like, I don't even know where to begin with mental fitness. So I'm just going to put it off. So what we want to talk about here today is the reality of how to make mental fitness work for you. It doesn't have to feel like a scary thing. It doesn't have to feel like an esoteric thing that's for I'm mentally tough. I don't need mental fitness. We all need it. And to just give you a small example, in case you see me shaking a little bit in my chair today, over the weekend on Sunday, I was a little groggy. I wasn't paying much attention. I went to the lake to do my cold plunging. And then we have a sauna nearby and went into the sauna. And I don't know how I did this, but I leaned right up against where the heat is. And I burned a huge burn right into my behind. And that's like, for me, I was like, oh, I just wasn't paying attention. My brain wasn't fully there. It wasn't fully activated. I wasn't paying attention. And that's when small mistakes happen. And for me, I was like, that's what mental fitness is. It's not like, okay, it doesn't have to be the big mental fitness. It's even in small things, just being present, just being aware, just having the energy to focus a little bit. So we're going to talk about big and small mental fitness today. Jan, you're the man who has the biggest story of all, right? Because you really learned not just a little burn on your butt, but you really learned what is so important about mental fitness.
Oh, absolutely. And the major learning, I mean, for those who are here for the first time to know the story, but I was a very successful manager on global level, and then I went through deep depression for 6 months. I was 3 months in the mental hospital, and I've got even suicidal, thoughts during that period, right? And the issue was that, while I'm now teaching about, mental toughness and mental fitness and all of that, I was not very good example of that because I had enough physical rest, in my life, but I didn't not have enough, mental rest. And your brain is muscle as everything else and needs to kind of, hey, go out of the comfort zone, then have a rest, right? Because our predecessors, they were like fighting, having a rest, fighting, having a rest. The issue is, while our predecessors, they were facing a lot of natural stress. It was a real stress. There was a real danger for their lives. Today, majority of the stress, it's artificial stress. Our brains are overstimulated and we basically don't know how to use, right?
Oh,
Because
we lost you for a moment, Jan, but you're back.
yeah. I know, guys. I apologize because I'm on the data connection. It should be fine. But if I'm, lost a little bit, it should be okay, right?
Good.
Okay, so yeah, because we are teaching people what is around them, but we are not teaching people what is inside them. So the brain is definitely overstimulated, and we are, fighting against exponential change. And our brain, likes some change, but we are used to have like step by step. The brain, what the brain is doing, you learn, and then you go so-called homeostasis. You have a rest, and then you learn, and then again and again and again. That's why I'm always saying, you will not get, to the success by the lift. It's by the stairs. Okay. So we are a lot ahead with technology, but we are not teaching people how to use this technology or even how not to use this technology.
Yes.
Okay. And the thing is that, this society is over-informed. We have too much information, but we are under, focus. We cannot anymore concentrate enough, right? Because I can bet you in the past to basically hunt some big animal, it took a lot of concentration for a day or maybe a couple of days and so on. Today, people in average, that's according to psychologists, it's not my number, can concentrate 10 to 11 minutes. And this exponential, while we will now use more artificial intelligence, will be even steeper. It's called, originally this technological exponential was called Moore law. Gordon Moore was one of the founders of Intel, the chip company, and he said that every second year you have a double of density of those transistors, on the chip, which means we are doubling amount of information, we are doubling the stress, but we don't have, enough, rest, and we are under the strong push. Interestingly enough, our predecessors, they were not stupid, and why they did not have any Facebook or Instagram, whatever, but they've got something they call kalokagatia, which has to do with the mental fitness. Because mental fitness, it's not only about your brain, because there is I'm sure Lisa will talk about body-mind connection. There is an emotional part of the mental fitness, the social part, because we are social beings. We like to be with the other people, to be friends with the other people and so on. And there's a cognitive part, because we since like 12, 15,000 years ago, we started to think more and more. It's interesting, I'm always asking people, what was the biggest invention in the human history? And it's not computers, it's nothing like that. It is fire. Once we are able to, bring the food and make it, make the, not the fast food, but the hot food.
And cook it. Yeah, exactly.
Cooking, exactly. People before they were chewing, 90% of the time people were chewing. So there was a little time to develop the brain. But then since there was a cooking, this part, the frontal part of the brain, it's called frontal cortex, was getting bigger. And this is the time also when people start to use natural language and stuff like that. So we will, deep dive, more deeply in those issues. But what I'm saying that we talk about mental health, mental fitness, but we are not ready, and I think the key is that the society, thanks to the technology, changed significantly. Our education model, for example, did not change in Europe last 300 years. We are still teaching people in the very old way. And it's supposed to, like, this education model is supposed to have, like, think that our brain works like, only we are like memorizing the things on the linear level, and our brain works on associations. That's why we like story. That's why we like context, right? That's the best way how you remember the thing. Or even if you put together some strategy, there should be context. What is the context? What is the environment? What is, my enemy or my opponent in sport? Whatever. Okay, so I think that's enough, like kickoff from me, and I'll hand over to Lisa.
I love it. I think that's a great start. I have two minor comments. Jan, we've gotten a note that we are not on LinkedIn. And probably not on Facebook either. I don't know if there's some button you can press or if we just leave it as is, but I leave
I
that
think,
for you.
I push all of those, buttons. That's
Okay. So we'll just have to give everyone the link afterwards if they're not able to see it in the other channels. And
I would need to go out of the, out of our live and, check it again. But I did all the three buttons, so.
We won't mess with the system. I think we're good here with you.
Lisa, talk, and I will check it because I'm online with my computer also, but because it was the connection on computer was not that great. I can, check it, and we will see what we can do.
And while you check it, that I can talk and talk. And okay, sure. Ivana has let us know we are now streaming on LinkedIn Live. It just took a while to get there. So thank you, Ivana,
because guys, I apologize, but I'm streaming from the phone because I struggle simply to get connection with my computer because I'm using the data connection because I'm like out and it's not the wireless was not working. Okay, Lisa.
No problem. The second comment I needed to add is Michael has invited me to Finland where he will teach me how to safely sauna without getting any injuries. I don't even know how I did this, folks. Maybe I shouldn't have said it out loud, but I think it's important to show just the tiny things when the brain can't be alert. And I think this is really important. Jan started talking about the brain and all the different important parts of the brain. And when he said, hey, look, we need safety, we need exploration. We need to hunt and gather. That's dangerous. We have to look around. We're hyper alert. So we have this activated, our amygdala. We're looking around, right? We want that threat detection. We need that. Otherwise, you would walk off a cliff, right? And we need the time where we rest, where that's not so activated, where we can do things like develop our prefrontal cortex. And this, every single human being has within us. We need safety. And yet it's really boring if it's too safe, right? So we also need exploration. We need this balance. Now, here's the thing about how to get the best out of our brain. We're talking mental fitness, right? We want to get the best out of our brain. We can't be stuck in stress all the time. But that's what we are. We're stuck in stress. There's nonstop information coming at us. How do I process this? It's overwhelming. What's going to come next? Am I going to be laid off? If you read about what's happening in WEF right now, which, by the way, if anyone's going to be there, I'll be there tomorrow and the next day. When you think about what's going on, the CEOs are saying, look, we're going to have to replace jobs with artificial intelligence. Well, if your brain goes...
In discussion, you mean discussion in Davos at the World Economic Forum. Yeah, I follow it, yeah.
Exactly. So this is a real problem because people might be going, oh, there's uncertainty in my brain. Am I going to be replaced? How do I do it? Things are moving too fast. We have so many new stimulations coming in to process, so much uncertainty to process, so much fear, so many people fighting this and that. All this to say that you are constantly in this low level to mid-level state of overwhelm and threat for the brain. The brain was not meant to be that way. So, of course, the real question is, how do we lower threat levels? How do we close some stress loops? Okay, I hunted, I gathered, and now I go back to my cave and I rest. So one of the best things, and it's the most annoying thing that anyone can ever say, but one of the best things you can do is breathe. Exactly. I know for 10 years, people told me, you should meditate, you should breathe. I would tell other people, you should meditate, you should breathe. But I didn't understand the science enough to really be convinced. I sort of did it like if I remembered and if I had some time, but I was not committed. For all of you, if you are an overachiever, if you are feeling any bit of stress, we need to work with the breath. The breath is what can change what part of your brain is triggered. And there are different breaths, and I would love to show you just a few. Okay. First one, actually, this one's your favorite. We've talked about it before, Jan. This is sort of the one that everybody uses. It's just like a normal breath on a day-to-day basis. This is what the Navy SEALs will use, and it's called the box breath. Why? 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts exhale, 4 counts hold. Now, ideally, you're doing this in through the nose and out through the mouth. And this is just to get you to a smooth baseline. So everybody who's listening, we can just do 1 or 2 of these breaths really quickly, just so you get a sense. And you're going to breathe in through the nose. 2, 3, 4, and then hold it. 2, 3, 4, out. And now hold. 2, 3, 4. This, anywhere you are, any time of day, anything you're doing, if you notice your heart rate's a little bit high on your, iWatch, just take a couple of box breaths. That's perfect. Now, for many people who have anxiety and panic disorder, most of the time you feel like, I can't breathe. You're trying to breathe more and you feel you can't get oxygen. And what most people do is then try to take more in. If you're breathing more in through your mouth, you actually put your stress levels up. The best thing, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, you're in a panicked moment, the best thing you can do, surprisingly, is hold your breath. And what that does is that helps to build up carbon dioxide in the body, and it lowers that feeling of stress. So even if throughout your day, you can do 2, 3, 4 second breath holds. So you're just in a meeting, you're noticing you're a little bit stressed, just sit in the meeting and hold your breath for 3 seconds. And let it go again. And if you do this a few times, you start to build a little bit more carbon dioxide, and your body will start to calm down. These are what will bring you mental fitness in terms of stress, lowering stress. Now, if you want some clarity, if you want more energy, big breaths. If you want to get built up, even through the mouth, breathing in through the nose, the more oxygen you have, the more hyped up you'll be. The more you breathe out, the more calm you'll be. So actually the breath is the easiest way to control how you're feeling and what parts of the brain you can access. I won't go into any more breath work unless people tell me in the comments they want to. I could go into tons more breathing. But just so you know, it's not like, oh, I need to now go meditate for 20 seconds. And it's not just use the breath to get control of the mind, to get the clarity you're looking for, to get whatever it is you need from your mind. Use the breath to get it. It's the fastest hack.
I'll make 2 comments on, 3 comments. If you want to really do deep dive on, breathing, there is a gentleman in Ireland, I don't remember the name, but I was trained by him. But the book name is Oxygen Advantage. He got some really bad issues with the bronchitis, whatever, is in his childhood, and he rebuilt those techniques, on his own. So that's one thing. The other thing
Patrick McEwen is his name.
Yeah. Patrick. I remember. I still have this, online session somewhere on my computer. CO2, carbon dioxide, very important, because when you hold it more in your body for a little bit, longer time, CO2, it's necessary for hemoglobin to distribute, oxygen in your blood. So you really feel, better, right? That's number 1. Number 2, what Lisa said, like breathing in, breathing out. Okay, if you are breathing in, our diaphragm goes down, and that means that our, heart can pump, more blood in your body. If it's the other way around, if we are breathing out for a longer time, then, diaphragm goes up. There is a little space for the heart, and there is not that much, blood going from the heart to your body, and you are calming down, basically. That's kind of the physical, proof that it's really good. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about some factors which are influencing your mental fitness. Obviously, it is about the genes, but what we know, about the genes, there are a couple, I'll name those, and then we'll talk about each and every those. Genes, then environment, your lifestyle, and your experience. But how is it with the genes? There's only at about 5% of the genes which will be started anyway, whatever will you do in your life. Okay. Majority of the genes are started by the situations or by environment. It's called epigenetics. Okay. Because even if you have like predisposition to have, to be depressed, but you will eat well, sleep well, exercise, and, have take stress, in a proper way. The chances are you will never have a depression. On the other hand, in my family, nobody got depression before me. I was the first one, right? And it was because of my behavior. I did not have, maybe I've got some small part of the genes, but my, behavior and the lifestyles, not sleeping that much, not having a rest enough. I think I was eating okay. I was, exercising, but I did not have enough rest. That was it, right? So environment and lifestyle, it's very important, because environment, and you can be very fit, and suddenly you will change the job. And unfortunately, in the new company, there is a lot of toxic relationship and stuff like that. And then a lot of cortisol is released, and suddenly in half of the year or 12 months, you will be like burnt out or depressed or whatever, right? So environment is, key as much as your lifestyle, right? So it is about relationship, work, how you work with the mental health. Now, if people are mentally, fit, what does it mean for their lives? Number one, they can build better resilience. Resilience is not only about the fact that if something tough is happening in your life, you are able to stand up again, but you are able to go through the fire. That's what is resilience, right? So you can be mentally tough. You can have a better focus, better concentration. You will be probably more productive, and you will do your decisions, in a better way. The one thing which always, those doctors told me when I was those 3 months in the mental hospital, they said, Jan, never do any, important decisions on your life, on your work while you are depressed now. Don't do any, if possible, don't do any decisions, really. So, fortunately, while that was funny, when I was in mental hospital, Microsoft stock went, up. So at least something, good happened during those months. But it has like I have no influence on that. So those are kind of benefits, and then we can talk about the strategies and so on. But I think, as you rightly said, Lisa, the breathing is key. My daughter, she learned in the school in Germany, it was international school, how to breathe properly and how to meditate when she was 4 years old. No kidding, because they've got a good teacher, right? And why she was not doing it maybe when she was 10 or 15 now. She's a lawyer and she needs to, process a lot of information, stuff like that. She's full like on meditation, mindfulness and stuff like that. And I think that's good. Obviously, she got also bad example in me.
No, you're the good example now. You have good.
No, now, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
The other book I would recommend, just to close out that topic of breathing, is actually a book called Breath by James Nestor. He's sort of the guru at the moment, next to Patrick. With breath. And, he even says, I'm convinced, I started taping my mouth at night to make sure that I'm breathing through my nose, because he makes a very big case for breathing in and out through the nose. So again, maybe we could spend an entire session even just talking about breath. It's so important, because if your tool isn't working, even if you're doing all the other stuff, even if you're eating right, even if the tool isn't getting oxygen and you can't access the parts that you need, it's not going to work at its best. And we're talking.
I can tell you now, there is an Australian Open, okay, tennis. Out of top 10 players they've got, I would say half of them, they don't know, they are not breathing properly. If you look at how Djokovic is like breathing, how he's able to cool down his mental system, it is amazing. There's a question from Nicola if there will be stream on Sunday. That's the Czech language stream. I will do, Nicola, this week for sure. I will do one stream. I don't know yet the day, because I need to coach, some ice hockey players in US and in Canada, and I don't know yet when they will be available, for the coaching. But for sure, there will be, between now and Sunday, there is a one evening I'll do, session in Czech. Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to the mental fitness.
I forgot, there was a trail that I wanted to pick up on, but I forgot what it was. So I'm just going to go back to what my notes are saying, which is there's another huge part of mental fitness that never gets discussed. Of course, all the standard stuff that like, that you read in an article or a book, fine. We don't necessarily need to cover here. What we need to tell you is the key stuff that maybe you're missing in order to have a good mental fitness routine. And I know for me, the biggest thing that I was missing is I was born to be strong, mental strength, toughness. I can do it. I can figure it out. I can take more. I was over resilient. I can handle everything. Give it. No problem. No problem. When something is bothering you and you swallow it down, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll handle it later. In the short term, you're playing a tennis match. Perfect. That's what you want. You don't want to deal with your emotions during the match. But afterwards, you need to release it out, or the stress builds and builds and builds and builds. Then that's where burnout comes from, because you have no tolerance, no ability to be resilient, to take in more stress or trauma. So you need to have some release, ways of releasing. Some of that is sport, right? Some of that is smiling and laughing with your friends. So laugh a little more, have a good hobby. I'll say it, you can have a lot of sex. That'll be a great release. But also we need to make sure that you have spaces for emotional release. I think I've said this a few times now. One of the release tactics I love, you can also do breathing, by the way. There are special breathing release tactics. But I love trauma release exercises or tension release exercises. You can Google them, called TRE. And basically you go and you shake your body. Why do you shake your body? You look a little possessed by the devil, but that's what an animal naturally does. They're afraid, they shake to release the stress, and then the stress loop is complete. I sometimes cry. Not really in business meetings, right? In the moment, I'm there. But later, not because I'm sad or overwhelmed, but because I know physiologically it is a release. Once I've cried, once I've screamed, once I've done kickboxing, I started Krav Maga. Once you've done something to get it out, it's not here anymore. I have a saying with my clients, better out than in. The more you try to hold it in, at some point the volcano erupts. So better you have control as and when you need it. And then you have special activities that are on a regular basis for you to release it out. So the stress does not stay in the body, but the stress releases out. That way, this stress part of your brain can go, no stress here, let's have a rest. And that's how we can get, once again, to the smartest parts of our brain. So we've got to work with the body and the way stress works in order to access the brain. It's not just through thinking, it's also through body work.
Absolutely. And what you mentioned, Lisa, about exercise or whatever. What I'm telling always tennis players, for example, they should jump, up and down a little bit during the balls, right? They should not do. I've got, Nicola, she was in the final of Wimbledon in juniors, Nicola Bartunkova. She was, before the return, she was going back and forth, back and forth. That's not good, because your brain is puzzled. Hey, what should I do? Because you go up and you go back. You go, forward, you go back. So do, it is really even if you do this, right? Shaking your body, that's absolutely great. There are a couple of, key strategies, right? Which, mental fitness depends on. Number one is sleeping. Okay. Sleeping is key, while some people are saying, I can sleep only 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever, right? No. And it's not like be in the bed for 7-8 hours, but sleep for 7 to 8 hours, right? Sleeping is necessary for your body. That's number one. Sleep, even if you have a job you really like, you have a huge emotional connection, you really like what you do, During the day, a lot of endorphin, dopamine, all of those hormones are released, and the other chemicals need to wash out those hormones during the sleep. If you don't sleep enough, you are not, like getting up in the morning with kind of the fresh, brain, if you will, right?
Yeah.
That's the second point. The third point, the learnings which we do during the day, and we are the generation which we would need really to do like lifelong learnings, like artificial intelligence or whatever, just name it. During the deep part of our, sleep, the new connection, new synaptical connections are created, and during the what they call REM, rapid eye movement, when you dream, those new connections, new learnings are connected to what you know already, right? So the sleep is very important. We are sleeping in 90-minute chunks, and there is a deep sleep, light sleep, and REM connection, REM. While at the first 3-4 hours, the deep sleep is broadly represented in those 90 minutes. If you go to the bed after the midnight, it's not optimal. Let's put it in this way. Okay. So sleep is key. That's that. If there was a one learning which I prioritize, for me, it was always like exercise and then sleep. Now it's sleep and then exercise. If for some reason I'm not able to sleep enough, I'm rather sleeping for 1 hour, more, and maybe exercise in the evening or whatever. So sleep key, okay. Then the regular exercise, but it's good. A lot of people again are like running, right, or doing some exercise. It's good to have a variety of the exercise. You should do some stretching, you should do like strength exercise, and you should do 3-4 times a week some cardio, at least like 100. Like cardio means that it's hard for you to speak while you run or whatever you
Yeah.
do, right? Right. That's a good cardio. I'm doing probably too much because I have quite a lot of time, so I try to do like 2-3 hours a day, but it's probably too much. But
Wow, good for
but
you.
but guys, well, if look, I'm 62 and you are losing your muscles, step by step. So you need to exercise. Really, this is it. And first of all, you feel good because of that, exercise, and your, body and mind, it's, connected. And then the last but not least, it's nutrition, right? I tell you, what I have now. We became friends. He's a doctor. I came to him. I lost like 10 kilos, but it was not main, issue. The issue was that I felt probably my diet is not proper one, and he's a specialist on those, how they call it, the cells which are renewing, themselves. How is it called? It's called.
I
You
don't
have
know.
in your you have in your body the cells which are able to renew themselves. It's some special stem cells, stem cells.
Yes, okay.
Okay, all right. So he's a specialist on stem cells. Okay. So he said, you are not having enough proteins. Okay. You try to replace proteins by the sugar, which was very much, true. So I do probably less, things like, rice or whatever. I still do. I do more, vegetables. I still do a lot of, meat and probably like chicken and fish and proteins, and a lot of vegetables, really. And I'm not eating. I try sometimes. I'm not, that disciplined, but I try majority of the time not to eat any sugar and any sweet stuff after 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. I feel, much better, because before that I was able to lose my weight, but I was like struggling. Now I eat pretty much like 5 times a day, because he's saying fasting is good. Fasting is good, but let's do like 12, 14 hours, but not 3 days, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of, my own experience, and those are the things which are really influencing, mental fitness, right? As I said, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. It's relatively, easy. And a lot of you would say, hey, I don't have, enough time to exercise. Come on, you can at least walk, like brisk walk for 30 minutes, 30% better, brain productivity. Easy as it is, right? I would
Exactly.
never, if I would not do sport, I would never survive 22 years in those top jobs in Microsoft. That would not be possible.
And there's so many good tips that we can give, very
Hmm.
practical tips, because look, we know you guys are busy, you got stuff going on, but let's take exercise, for example. Small things. Some of you are used to taking the stairs, some of you take an elevator. I have a rule, no matter how high, it could be 12 floors up, I take the stairs. Small things. When I'm parking my car to go to the grocery shop, I purposely park far away, just a couple of extra steps in and out. I take meetings that are, walking. So it's not always, oh, I need to build out 30 minutes. I will tell you the truth. If I have 30 seconds and I feel I haven't done enough, I'll just quickly hop over to the side here and do 30 seconds of jumping jacks. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. If you have 1 minute, drop down, do a couple of push-ups. Anything is better than nothing. So if you really feel I just don't have the time, perfect. Then don't take a lot of time.
Lisa,
Yeah,
sorry, there is a one
yeah.
study, interesting enough. People who live 100 plus years, okay, what those places have in common? It is diet. It's a social aspect that they are together. And those places are not flat. Usually those villages are like, they need to go back and forth all the time. What you do, I do in the subway, I always walk those stairs, right?
Yes.
It goes, and the same at the airports, whatever. I always walk.
Yes. And your body gets used to it. At first, you're like, oh, this is hard. Your body just gets used to it.
Come
You don't
on.
think about it, right? And that's the easy way to just build in a healthy living. And I have to tell you, with sleep, there's so many things you can do. And I've experimented a lot with my sleep. I have, a Fitbit that measures how my sleep is. I didn't get enough deep sleep. So I started looking for how can I get deeper sleep? And there's the other, Jan wears blue light protective lenses. We don't, watch any movies or TV an hour before bed because we know we have to start calming down. But I will tell you other things that really helped me. I got a weighted blanket. It's just a very heavy blanket. Why does that help? We don't quite know, but there's something about the safety. I guess it's almost like when you were like in a womb or something. There's something about the heaviness that grounds you, that doesn't make you feel like, oh, my anxiety in my head is going to go strong. I feel grounded. So I sleep with a weighted blanket. Here's the other thing I started doing. I used to, when I was pregnant, I had to sleep with a long pillow, to make the positioning
Yeah.
comfortable. And I realized this is amazing. And why give it up ever? So I actually, I'd say goodnight to my husband. I send him to his side, and then I have my little pillow that I can cuddle with. It's the same concept. It puts a nice weight on your chest. You have something to hold on to. It feels safer. Not consciously. I don't say, oh, now I have a pillow, I'm safe. But your body feels closer, more connected, safer.
Yeah.
So your body can relax. Keep your room temperature a little bit colder. That also helps you to relax. So there's lots of these small things. Even if you say, yeah, I wish I could sleep 8 hours a night, I'm maybe not going to. At least get the quality really good if you aren't always going to get the quantity. Obviously, Jan and I both would say get the quantity. But if you can't, get the quality good and really make the environment right, make this feel safe. If you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night, I have earbuds next to me at night. So if I wake up and my head starts spinning, I can immediately put in relaxing music and lull myself back to sleep. I do not let the thoughts spin. So small things can help to improve your sleep. And same with nutrition. Make very easy swaps. So for my family, we don't eat as much rice anymore, but I have cauliflower rice. So we still eat the same meal, and then I put in cauliflower rice. Sometimes if the kids ask, I'll put in half cauliflower. Yesterday I made pasta, but now I make pasta out of lentil pasta.
Yeah.
Instead of a pasta sauce, I roast vegetables. I put that in a mixer, And then I add, yogurt and cream and all these different, and then we have a nice pasta sauce that's vegetables, and you can make that and freeze it. So it's not like, oh, now I have to give up the foods I like. It's simple swaps where you can just get more vegetables in. The big message for all of this, if it feels hard, you're not going to do it. So don't make it hard. Make it as easy as possible for your brain. Adopt one new thing. Get that going. And then one new thing. You can change one thing a week, right? But if you do that every week, you've changed 52 things at the end of the year. So make it easy, but keep going in the right way, because you will feel the difference. I can assure you, Jan, you probably feel the same way. During Christmas, when I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just keep eating cake and cookies and, I felt like crap. You feel the difference.
Exactly.
So you take care of the body, that takes care of the brain as well.
Yeah. There is a one more thing I would like, because I mentioned resilience, and I need to touch one thing which I see a lot of people struggle, and that's a fixed mindset, right? Because the fixed mindset in society, it's very often in the family, in the schools, and so on. Fixed mindset means that you were basically trained and you were programmed, if everything goes well, you are, on the top. Everything else, you are loser. Pretty much like second place, the first loser. Okay, this is the fixed, mindset, right? And this is not necessarily optimal, because whatever you will do in your life, fixed mindset means that once you will touch some issue, you will probably give up very soon, right? And this is it. So how we can move from the fixed mindset when we are really like, if it's going well, it's fine. If it's not going well, we are even immediately giving up. It's about, reframing the situation, right? Because the situations in your life, they have no meaning unless your, mind would put some sticker on that situation. We know from US Navy that they've got the two groups of the soldiers. The first group was told, this is dangerous. The second group was told, this is, challenging. And the first group performance went down. The second group performance went up. So the wars in our, lives got a lot of, meanings and a lot of descriptions. That's why, reframing is very, how you, reframe it, because, growth mindset is like, okay, I'm better version of me every day, whatever is happening. Interesting enough, Djokovic recently gave some interview during when they started to play Australian Open. He said that once he's able to control internally what is coming out of his, body and mind, those are the best matches. Now, he doesn't care about what's going around. He just cares about, himself, about his brain, about his mind, and so on. Okay. So, and this, reframing has to do a lot with something which is called in psychology chatter, which is our internal dialogue. And very often this chatter is like negative, and it goes around and around and around. And a lot of things, like what Bruce Lipton is saying, guy who is really deep in epigenetics, he's saying that 70% of the programs which were put by our parents in our brains are, dangerous for us. Okay. So how you can, use some smart techniques to do this, reframing and to change your, chatter. Number one, if something negative, like, break up in a relationship, it can be work relationship, you are fired from the job, it can be romantic relationship, whatever. Put it down, write, from the top of your head, write everything. What do you feel, what happened, and so on. Because then once you are able to look at it, from the different standpoint, because the issue is that we usually going like very much negative zoom in. So what do you need to do? And if you have a negative zoom in, it's all about negative emotions. So you need to give your logic or rational part of the brain some time and do like positive zoom out. That's what is reframing. You can say, oh, this is a shit, the situation is really shitty, right? Yesterday I was on this, Harvard Coaching Institute call, and somebody said, that he traveled to Sweden and first day he lost passport, okay? And he was like, panicking, whatever. But his friend who was traveling with him, he said, wow, that's where the adventure starts. Now, real adventure starts right now. And he, reframed the situation. He got some replacement for a passport, whatever, right? So write it down. Second point, which they have from some, studies. If you talk to yourself in the second person or even in the third person, okay? Talk to yourself like you, Lisa, should do this, or Lisa should do that. Why? Because when you talk to yourself, me, I screwed up. That's bad. If you talk in the second and the third person, what they figure out, your amygdala, the emotional part of the brain, the monkey, is cooled down because you are talking about somebody else, right? This is about language, right? That's what they figure out. Here is the number. They basically, there were people who are going for some job interview, okay? And the first, group was told you should write, some letter in the like it's you. I am right, what I do, and so on. And the second group was doing the same thing, but was writing in the second or the third person. The first group was getting, more stressful by 60%. Second group, 70%, calming down, just by this small thing, okay? And the last point is, this is about, zoom in, zoom out. If you have some issue, put that issue in the center of the paper, and around that, put everything, what can be, good, what can be, very often with those issues, curiosity is helping. What can be, because you are in absolutely shitty situation. Well, what can I learn? What can be, interesting? What can I study, right, out of that? And you do that, zoom out. And again, you give a chance to your rational part of the brain. I think that's how you can basically manage your chatter. And I'm teaching it now to tennis players and other, athletes. There is a guy, by the way, last weekend, I have one guy who is competing modern pentathlon. Just by the chance, he went for the big tournament in fencing. Fencing is a part of the modern pentathlon, but he's not specialist in the fencing, and he won that tournament. He just won it.
Good for him.
It's like, in athletics, if somebody would do like decathlon and would do like long jump and would be the master of the world or whatever,
Exactly. Amazing. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I love what you're saying because it's really all about controlling that chatter and reframing. And you said it so perfectly. The amygdala, this needs to be really clear for everybody. Anytime the amygdala, the fear center, is going off, the monkey brain, whatever we want to call it, that's about protecting me, my ego, me. That's why the difference between all of a sudden your ego is involved.
That's an ego.
And then we can switch. Oh, Lisa. Okay. That's why when you're talking about your emotions and you don't say, I failed, you might say, I notice that I'm having the feeling that I failed, right? Or, oh, Lisa's having the thought or feeling that she's failed. The more distance you can get from associating it with I am and my identity, the farther away you can get from the amygdala. So same with reframing. Oftentimes when my daughters are complaining, oh God, I didn't like this and this and that, I don't want to go for a hike, I just turn around and I say, okay, name 3 things that you're feeling grateful for right now. Yeah. I guess, it's a nice sunset over there. And I guess it's kind of cool to, take this picture. And I kind of like it when we do that. And all of a sudden you get out of a negative emotion, what I don't like, and you help to shift yourself out. Same when your chatter is going strong. You're stupid. You messed that up again. You're never fast enough. You're never good enough. The first thing that I say is give yourself a compliment. What are you good at? Yeah, that was hard. Yeah, that didn't go as planned.
Absolutely.
But equally come from a place of what's good, because those 2 things should be equal. We don't make them equal. And yet, for every, thing that's hard, remember, give yourself a compliment. Have a little bit of self-compassion. This leads to, at least for me, the last point that I feel like we have to cover for mental fitness, how to deal with those emotions. Now, the good ones, for the most part, people want to feel happy. I won't go into why people struggle to feel joy. That will be a whole different episode. But really, for the most part, we want to avoid anything that's painful. And it's very interesting. We've had our lives become so convenient. So you can order your food online, you can have it delivered to you, you don't actually need to struggle with anything. I mean, how many of you now go to the bank to deposit money and you have to wait in line and see a teller? No way. You'd be like, are you crazy? But the thing is, part of the reason that we don't have any resilience anymore is because we've lost it and no longer practicing it in small ways. Remember, the Swiss trains are never more than 30 seconds late. Can you imagine what would happen if the train is 2 minutes late and I have to wait and I was going to be on time? And how do we learn to just be okay with that? Okay, the train's late. We're okay. Okay, I have to wait in this line. I'll wait in line. Okay, the order got messed up. So we haven't learned how to just sort of cope and deal with the small things. And that's why we also don't have patience for some of the bigger stuff. So we have to be able to face even the small negative emotions, let alone the big negative emotions. I would say there are two emotions that people are not really willing to look at, but that would be hugely helpful if they would. One, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Jan, is grief. Maybe grief, I lost my job. Maybe grief, I lost a friend. Maybe grief, my mom is sick. Whatever that is, we always try to be strong. When we say, how are you? I'm fine. I'm okay. Oh, well, I can't change anything. But we have to let that grief out. And for so many of us, we think, okay, well, now my dad's died and it's been 2 months. So now that's like the cutoff point. Nobody wants to hear me talk about it anymore. Or a breakup or a divorce or, whatever it is, you have to really process grief, because grief is one of the things that sits the heaviest within you. And on the other side, I would say that what I see with my clients is forgiveness. We are really good at holding grudges. Like, oh, but this person did this and you don't know because he did this to me at a meeting one time and I'm not going to give her a good review. Because holding a grudge, first of all, you think you're protecting yourself from getting hurt again, or you're getting, retribution. You're going to show them that they can't cross you anymore. But in reality, all you do is harbor a lot of angry emotions all the time. So if you don't have grief, you sit with a lot of heavy sadness. And if you hold a lot of grudges and you don't just forgive people and let it go, you hold a lot of anger. Well, how does anger and sadness feel in the body? Sadness is depressing, it's heavy, it's I don't want to do anything. And anger is very irritating. These are two emotions that just get rid of them, process them, see them, move on from them. Don't hold this stuff inside, because these are the worst that are going to weigh you down. Some of the best ways that you can work with your emotions is just learning a vocabulary, learning how to name them. Oh, this is what I'm feeling. So many times once you know what you're feeling, you're like, oh, okay. Oh, I can move past that. I can tell the person how I'm feeling. There's so much you can do once you know what it is. Don't have mental strength, ignore it, hide it, run away from it. I'm a man, big girls don't cry, whatever bullshit you've learned about emotions. Just be with them and then face them, but with curiosity, not with, running, screaming, not being like my 8-year-old daughter who's like, I can't control my feelings. That's what she did earlier today for bedtime. Don't let them control you, but you have to face them. Otherwise, they're controlling you by you having to run away from them all the time. That's why you pick up your phone when you have a second. I need to distract myself. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm too nervous. And once you start looking for the easy fixes of distraction, you've lost your mental fitness. You've lost the clarity, because You're running from, and you're not focused, and you're not choosing where to put your focus, energy, and attention. For me, this is super important. Yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah. And I would, add a couple of points, right? Because the issue we have, usually why we are like, pushing that grief and everything, back, because there is still this FOPO. The situation, you should understand, there is some situation, and it's not about the situation, it is about your view of that situation.
Yes.
And your view of that situation has to do with your upbringing, with your childhood, your work, whatever, with your social environment, and so on. It's not necessarily the right view. Who got the right view? It's all about, reframing, because you can really reframe the situation. There is something which we call in the sport escapism. Escapism means that if I'm losing the match, I'll talk at a press conference or to my coach or to the press, the weather was not good, I didn't feel good, and my opponent was very strong, the referee was not good, stuff like that. We try to find a reason why we were beaten externally. The reason why we try to justify, we try to tell other people, I am a much better player or I'm a much better athlete if everything goes, well.
Right.
But this is it. And that's why I really like people like Djokovic. Djokovic is always, very kind of the friendly to his opponent and talking highly about his opponent. Like, 2 days ago, he almost lost to the Prishmic, 18 years old guy from Croatia, and he was very high on him, right? And he's very self-critical. And I think this is really what can move you, ahead in your life. Because the worst thing, what can happen in your life, that you are attached to the past, right? At some point, because look, if there's a breakup or somebody is dying or whatever in your close, neighborhood or in your family, the first thing is denial. You are like denying what happened. Okay. Then there is some struggle, and then you try to figure out what should be the strategy, how to, move on. And the question is like, last year or like in 5 months, we lost my, mother-in-law, my mom, and rather beloved dog in 5, months, right? And while I had a grief, I was doing it very strategically. I was like, during the day, I try to keep my mind busy all the time, training, doing the seminars, whatever. And then in the evening, I was like, I was sad, for some time, and I'm still from time to time, but this is it. That's life. And, we need to move on, because if you would stay and you will build this, post-traumatic stress disorder, it's not good, right? Because we can really emerge from all situations as a heroes, as a, post-traumatic growth, that we are really growing and we are strengthening. Whatever is not killing you is strengthening you, Nietzsche. Or really PS, post-traumatic stress disorder, PST. So that's another part of the mental fitness, because those situations, tough situations in your life, will come for sure. And we are, all human beings, and we should. The one thing, in the past, I really try to push, negative emotions, back, and that's not good. You need to realize what is it, what are the triggers, and then you can have a strategy how to handle it. Because I mean, if you go and say, okay, I will delete this negative emotion, I will delete that my, boss was tough with me. Come on, it doesn't work like that. It's still in your brain. It's still in your subconsciousness.
Exactly. And with that, I mean, Jan, with so much we could talk about here, maybe we continue this in another session. But I think the core of what you're saying here towards the end is like, We are powerful. Sometimes we forget. It's so easy to play victim of the circumstances. This was bad. This was hard. The weather wasn't right. But the heart of mental fitness is knowing I am powerful. I am a creator. I am someone who can have control over my life. I can, move forward. I can learn. That's where the growth will happen. Believe in yourself. Believe you can move forward. Not running away from problems, not avoiding
Absolutely.
things, facing them with strength and creating the story of how you grow to be stronger, better going forward. That's mental fitness. Thank you all very much for joining
Perfect.
us
Okay,
today.
guys. Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks. Yeah.
See you soon. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.